welcome to Independent Green Party, Green TV. I'm Kerry Campbell, Independent Green Party.
Hi, I'm Brooklyn Kinley with the Independent Green Party. Independent Green Party, Green TV focus is Independent Green Party candidates for local, state, and federal office.
Green Party, Green TV reports on positive Green Party, Green New Deal, eco-jobs for the economy.
Green Party solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs.
Green Party insulation jobs, conservation jobs, weatherization jobs.
Green Party rail jobs, building walkable, bikeable, pedestrian, and rail-friendly communities.
Green Party, Green TV is about positive Green Party, Green New Deal solutions.
Independent Green Party local, state, federal, and presidential candidates offer positive eco-solutions. Eco-capitalism's prices must tell the environmental truth. A green industrial revolution means jobs, and we need to cut taxpayer subsidies to zero for fossil fuels, big oil, big auto.
The biggest way people give up power is by not knowing that we have it to start with. Well, we've got it, and we're going to use it. And it doesn't come from the big corporate political parties that are bought and paid for by Wall Street. Their choices are not our choices.
Their candidates are not our candidates. Their economy is not our economy.
Their government is not our government. Their prisons are not our prisons. Their police are not our police. And their endless wars are not our wars. And their recovery for the few is not our recovery. The 1% is quaking in their boots because we're waking up to the fact that we have the power and we're going to use it. We have the power to make the minimum wage a living wage. We have the power to turn the tide on climate change. We have the power to create a welcoming path to citizenship. We have the power to end the racist war on drugs. It's in our hands. Together, we can build a world that puts people and the planet and peace over profit. That's in our hands. Our power to create this new world. It's not in our hopes. It's not in our dreams. It's in our hands. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gail Parker, Independent Green Party. The Green Party is now on the ballot in 45 states, an official write-in candidate on an additional 3 states for a total of 48 states. The Green Party is one of only 4 national parties in the U.S. The Green Party could, if it receives the popular vote in enough states, could get enough electoral votes to actually win the election. Yet the Presidential Debate Commission, which is ruled by the 2 larger parties, are allowing only the 2 larger parties into the televised debates. In 2012, Dr. Stein was also a bona fide Green Party candidate for president and was arrested for just trying to attend one of the debates. Let's take a look at Dr. Stein's 2016 campaign efforts to get into the presidential debates.
Ho, ho! Closed debates have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Closed debates have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Closed debates have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Closed debates have got to go! What do we want? Open debate! What do we want on? Now! What do we want? Open debate! What do we want on? Now! What do we want? Open debate! What do we want on? Now! If we don't get up, shut it down! If we don't get up, shut it down! If we don't get them, shut it down! Chicken! Clinton's a chicken! Clinton's a chicken! Clinton's a chicken! Clinton.
That was Brooklyn, New York. And now let's in Columbus, Ohio.
As a parent, I am very dedicated to the idea that education is a right, and that extends through a college education, because in the 21st century, you do not survive without a college education or some form of post-secondary education. So throughout the 20th century, we provided a free high school education, because with a high school education, you could do very well. But in the 21st century, you need a college degree. So by analogy, that should also be provided for free. Young people should not have to go into a lifetime of debt, which is largely unpayable in the economy that we have, in order to acquire survival skills. It's just nonsense. You don't throw your children into the ocean and hope that they are going to learn how to swim. You teach them how to swim before you throw them into the ocean of the economy. So we call for free public higher education and for basically debt-free, affordable private college education. And we call for canceling student debt, bailing out students the way we bailed out Wall Street, who crashed the economy. The victims of that crashed economy also deserve a bailout, which would be much smaller than what we came up with for Wall Street. There is no better investment than providing college education. And in fact, we know that it pays for itself 7 times over. We know that from the GI Bill following the Second World War, when we provided free college for returning soldiers. Every dollar that we put into it as taxpayers was returned 7 times over in public benefits and increased revenue. So this is a win-win for everybody.
And this is the Stein-Baraka campaign in Chicago, Illinois.
Any comments on Mayor Rahm Emanuel and the job he's done here?
You know, I support the view that Mayor Emanuel should step down. That Mayor Emanuel has done a disservice to the city of Chicago by heading a police department that sat on the real facts in the Laquan McDonald case, where it was long after the fact that the videotapes that were extremely incriminating to the department and to the police officers, those videos finally surfaced long after the fact, much against what the city council and the mayor was trying to do to suppress that information and cover it up. So on the basis of that cover-up, on the basis of the violence associated with the Chicago Police Department, on the basis of the violence that afflicts this community that has not been addressed, on the basis of the school closures, 50 schools that were targeted largely in the African American community. There are just glaring injustices that Mayor Rahm Emanuel has managed to look the other way on and actually participate in. So I think Chicago needs new leaders.
And this is the Stein-Baraka on Democracy Now! Show on opening up the debates.
I'm Amy Goodman. Preparations have begun for the first presidential debate. It'll be held September 26th at Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York. While polls show Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are among the least popular major party candidates to ever run for the White House, it appears no third-party candidates will be invited to take part in the debates. Debates are organized by the Commission on Presidential Debates, which is controlled by the Democratic and Republican parties. More than 12,000 people have signed a petition organized by Roots Action calling for a 4-way presidential debate. In a moment, we'll be joined by the Green Party's Jill Stein and her running mate, Ajamu Baraka. But first, I want to turn to George Farah, the founder and executive director of Open Debates. He spoke on Democracy Now! A few years ago about how the Democrats and Republicans took control of the debate process.
The League of Women Voters ran the presidential debate process from 1976 until 1984, and they were a very courageous and genuinely independent, nonpartisan sponsor. And whenever the candidates attempted to manipulate the presidential debates behind closed doors, either to exclude a viable independent candidate or to sanitize the formats, the League had the courage to challenge the Republican Democratic nominees and, if necessary, go public. Today, what do we have? We have a private corporation that was created by the Republican Democratic parties called the Commission on Presidential Debates. It seized control of the presidential debates precisely because the League was independent, precisely because this women's organization had the guts to stand up to the candidates that the major party candidates had nominated.
That was George Farah, founder and executive director of Open Debate, speaking on Democracy Now! In 2012. He's the author of No Debate, How the Republican and Democratic Parties Secretly Control the Presidential Debates. Well, joining us now is Green Party presidential nominee Dr. Jill Stein, along with her running mate, Ajamu Baraka, a longtime human rights activist. Baraka is the founding executive director of the U.S. Human Rights Network and coordinator of the U.S.-based Black Left Unity Network's Committee on International Affairs. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! So, September 26th, that's the first presidential debate. What are your plans, Dr. Jill Stein?
Our plans are to be in that debate because it's not just about whether our party will be included, it's whether the American people will have a voice, whether we will have a real discussion of the crisis of jobs, of the climate, of race, of war, these and the crisis of a generation, an entire generation that's basically been hung out to dry, that cannot get out of predatory student loan debt, that doesn't have the jobs they need, and doesn't have a climate future to look forward to. So these are really the critical issues that people want to discuss. We saw an incredible surge of a response last night when we had our first primetime TV. And I want to note that while we've come up to 6 and even 7% in the polls, this has happened without any media coverage, really, whatsoever on, in the mainstream media. So it's absolutely remarkable that we've not only doubled and tripled, even more than that, because we were invisible as of about 2 months ago in the polls. Suddenly we're up there. So there's an enormous interest in what we're talking about.
So let's go back to 2012. The debate then was at Hofstra, as it will be on September 26. You and your running mate then, Sherry Honkala, were arrested as you attempted to enter the site of the presidential debate at Hofstra. Democracy Now! Was there at the time of your arrest.
Well, we're here to stand our ground. We're here to stand ground for the American people who have been systematically locked out of these debates for decades by the Commission on Presidential Debates. We think that this commission is entirely illegitimate, that if democracy truly prevailed, there would be no such commission, that the debates would still be run by the League of Women Voters, that the debates would be open with the criteria that the League of Women Voters had always used, which was that if you have done the work to get on the ballot, if you are on the ballot and could actually win the Electoral College by being on the ballot in enough states, that you deserve to be in the election and you deserve to be heard, and that the American people actually deserve to hear choices which are not bought and paid for by multinational corporations and Wall Street.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are obstructing the vehicle of pedestrians and traffic. If you refuse to move, you are subject to arrest. Remove them, bring them back to the rest.
Come on, step up, please. Stand up. We'll help you. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Watch the flag, please.
Thank you, ladies.
Who spotted us? Thank you.
Come with us, man.
Just come with us.
Thank you, man.
Okay, you got to stay here.
All right, everybody, we're going to ask you to please move back.
Okay.
Well, I'd say this is what democracy looks like in the 21st century. I'm afraid it's going to take some politics and courage here to get our democracy back. So, more to come.
More to come, you said. So you're taken away, Dr. Jill Stein, from the Hofstra campus. Where did you and Sherry Honkala, where were you taken?
We were taken to a dark site where nobody knew where we were, an unmarked facility that was basically being run by, I think, Homeland Security and the Secret Service and local police. We were surrounded by, according to Sherry, who counted them, some 16 police and colleagues, and handcuffed tightly to these metal chairs for about 7 hours.
7 hours?
7 hours until the debates were long over and everyone had gone home. It was, I think, an incredible testimony to how fearful the political establishment was and is, that people should learn that they actually have another choice in that race, and all the more so in this race, because we know that the current candidates of the Democratic and Republican parties are the most unpopular, the most disliked and untrusted presidential candidates in history. So people are clamoring for another choice, and we, we're building a campaign to get into the debates, and we'll keep people posted as to what our actions will be coming up. But we will not leave this just to the establishment to shut down political opposition, which is what this commission is doing.
Do you plan to head to Hofstra on September 26th?
Absolutely. Whether we are in the debate or whether we are locked out of the debate, you can be sure that we're going to be there, and we're not going to be there alone. We're going to be there with the American people who are demanding that we open up the debate and make it a real service to our democracy.
You've sued?
We have 2 cases, one of which has been dismissed. The other one is still technically in effect. We are not holding our breath that this is going to be favorably decided in a court of law, but there's every reason for this to be decided in the court of public opinion, where public opinion is very clear that people have had it, not only with the rigged economy, but the rigged political system, and with the dialogue, which is rigged by the Democratic and Republican parties. This commission is a private corporation run by the 2 political parties. The League of Women Voters called it a fraud being perpetrated on the American public. We're not going to settle for that.
Earlier this year, I spoke to Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson in his home state of New Mexico. He talked about the unfair nature of the presidential debate system as well.
Right now, running for president of the United States as a libertarian, there is no way that a third party wins. There's no way that I have a chance of winning unless I'm in the presidential debates. There is the possibility of being at 15% in the polls, though, if I'm in the polls, that I could be in the presidential debates.
You're part of a lawsuit going after the Presidential Debate Commission?
Yes, on the basis that on the basis of the Sherman Act, that politics is a business, that Democrats and Republicans collude with one another to exclude everybody else. We think that the discovery phase of this lawsuit is going to provide national insight into just how rigged the system is. I come back to the fact that 50% of Americans right now declare themselves as independent. Where is that representation?
I'm Gail Farrell Parker, candidate for U.S. House in Virginia's District 1. I'm a businesswoman, a retired Air Force veteran, and governmental budget analyst. I'm a mother of 3, a grandmother of 4. I ask for your vote for 3 reasons. I want to remove the barrier at the federal level that prevents the building of rail. The current policies say to municipal and state governments, if you build roads, the federal taxpayers will pay 80%. If you build rail, the federal taxpayers will pay 20%. The playing field should be leveled so that our municipal and state governments can solve transportation issues with mass transit. More trains, less traffic. I want to ensure we adhere to the Arms Export Control Act and to the U.S. Constitution so that we have someone to lobby on the sale of arms to foreign governments. The U.S. Constitution stipulates that the U.S. Congress is the approval authority for the sale of arms, not the State Department or the Department of Defense. Arms sales made without the approval of the U.S. Congress are illegal, and therefore we have no one to lobby if we disagree with the sales. And lastly, I ask for your vote because this election is about your tax dollars and our children and our grandchildren's future. The federal debt, now at $17.5 trillion, makes the interest payment on that debt this year the 6th largest expense in the federal budget, just the interest payment. By building rail and stopping the illegal sale of arms, which contribute to wars abroad, we can grow the economy, create new eco-jobs, cut dependence on foreign oil, balance the budget, and eventually pay off the federal debt. Rail returns $25 to the community for every dollar invested. Folks, I have faith in building rail and in alternative energy sources like solar, wind, and geothermal. Dedicated passenger rail tracks will greatly improve the quality of life for folks in District 1 and, in fact, for the entire Commonwealth. New dedicated passenger rail tracks, more trains, more often, will ensure that folks in District 1 will continue to have viable access to those good-paying jobs. Rail will make us safer, help us have cleaner air, cleaner water. We will create new green, New Deal jobs, jobs in solar energy, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs. Echo for the economy. We can grow the economy and reduce the debt by building rail. That is why I am the best choice in this race. Citizens want new dedicated rail tracks with more trains that run more often, Williamsburg to Charlottesville and Richmond to the National Capital Region. Send me to Washington so you can count on me to get the job done. And now, Julio, gracias. So thank you again for being here with us today. You're a candidate on the ballot in Virginia's 8th Congressional District. You're a retired FBI special agent, yes, and a candidate for Congress.
Yes, indeed.
So, Julio, tell us a little bit about where you were born, where you grew up, how you got.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the invitation, for letting me be here. I was born in New York City a long time ago, and my family traveled a lot, but I consider my previous hometown Albany, New York. But I say my current hometown is Falls Church, Virginia, because it's the place where I've lived the longest in one place. So, and the reason I became an FBI agent, and I think if you ask every FBI agent why they became an agent, and fundamentally will be because they want to save the world. There are monsters out there. There are very evil people out there. And as you grow up, you have heroes, and you want to do good. And that is, becoming an FBI agent is really the manifestation of that desire to do something good for the world, to get rid of those people that would harm others. So that is the essence of the motivation in becoming an FBI agent, and it certainly was for me.
I see. Well, great. And your son was handing out your flyers at the Metro station, yes, the other day, and I noticed you have a strong platform on Metro. Would you tell us about that a little bit?
Yes. You see, one of the reasons I'm running is because I feel that many of the elected officials we have do not have a personal stake in the decisions they make. And I think Metro is an illustration of that. I rode the Metro for 15 years, and I could see what was once a system that we could be proud about is now in disrepair, because I rode it. And riding it every day for almost every day for 15 years, I could tell you almost the time when I realized that the system is breaking down. If you don't ride the Metro and you just kind of oversee it from afar, you're not going to have that experience of, hey, there's something going on here, something that's not working right. The ride isn't the way it should be or the way it was. And I think as an elected official, many of the problems that we have as individuals, I also share. I'm not isolated from those things, and Metro is one of the illustrations that I put in my leaflet. Now for Metro, I think is very important. I mean, the damage is done, and people must remember that Metro also has a national security component. Washington, D.C. is the nation's capital. The Metro's finest hour was during September 11, and I was there. And you couldn't get out of D.C. almost any other way by walking or taking the Metro. That was its finest hour. And we have to remember that it's an important component in if there was ever another emergency, could Metro do what it did that day? And we have to bring back that reliability. So one of the simple things that I would like to implement is that the congressmen, the elected officials, federal officials, in the area that Metro serves should be on the board, because that brings a spotlight. Everyone comes, the elected officials come after things happen. I want to be there as things are happening, as the reliability comes back, where I can be helpful to improve the quality of the service, the ride, and the safety of the Metro. And I think we also should have regular riders of the Metro. I think their opinions are essential to having a quality and efficient and effective Metro system.
And would you support having a dedicated funding stream for the Metro?
I think actually in Virginia there is a bond that's going to be on the ballot, and I certainly would support that. That will help support the Metro. Yes, I would. We have to. I mean, we have to. We need to move people efficiently, and the irony is that because of the Metro, people come to this area, Northern Virginia, and yet the Metro is kind of saying, hey, we can't handle you. We have to have a final way, and money is definitely an issue, but it's not the only issue. We also have to have proper oversight of that money, because it had money in the past, and still we have this problem.
Yes, I believe that our Metro system is the only metro system in this nation that does not have a dedicated funding stream.
Yes. Yeah.
So each year they have to appropriate the funds for the upkeep of it. And even then, rail is a real bargain, because if you look at the subsidy by riders, it's 50 cents per rider for a metro or rail system, and $10 per rider for buses. So it's a real bargain to have metro rail, light rail system.
I agree with you, yes.
So if we could jump back to your decision to run for office.
Yes.
And getting on the ballot, you had to collect signatures to get on the ballot. So
Yes.
could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
I laugh because it was a strange but enjoyable experience. So in order to get on the ballot, you have to collect 1,000 signatures. And I'm thinking, 1,000 signatures, that's not that bad. I'll just walk around the neighborhood, and I'll do it myself. I don't have surrogates in that sense, because I want to introduce myself beyond my immediate neighborhood, beyond to other neighborhoods. So my wife Joanne, she would help me every so often to get the signatures. But then when I started knocking on doors, I would more often be greeted by a dog going ruff ruff than an actual person, because no one was home. So I had to find the right time to knock on doors, and I always felt a little bit like I was intruding on their time. So I was apologetic and say, hi, I'm running for Congress. I know you don't know me. I had a different little leaflet I gave them with some to identify myself, and I would normally get the signature. But when you get the 1,000 signatures, you really should get more. So I got 1,360 signatures, and those have to be validated by the Board of Elections. And what happens is that people think they're registered, but they're not really registered, or they were registered someplace else, and they're not registered currently where they are. Mm-hmm. So a lot of, or the Board of Elections cannot read the signature, and then they can't say, who is this person, So they invalidated over 300 of them, so we ended up with 1,017. So I made it, but I had no idea it would be so labor intensive to get it. So.
Yeah, it's always a shock for people to collect those signatures. And in your talking with the people in District 8, were there any particular issues that came up again and again?
Well, certainly the metro was one. That was one that immediately when I said that one of the things I wanted to pursue was the metro, their eyes would open up, because many people around here live, like I mentioned before, live in this area, and they rely on the metro for the convenience and to avoid those long commutes in the car, which actually, we were talking about climate, the impact on the climate, all those cars. If they were traveling, if the ride took 15 minutes, maybe you could, but the ride that should be 15 minutes ends up 45 minutes, ends up an hour. If a car breaks down, it's terrible. So the impact on our climate is certainly alleviated if the metro is efficient and effective. And so that was one of the issues they were interested in. And also they wanted to see how would you break that deadlock in Congress? How do you get people to work together? And they actually welcomed me often because I was an independent candidate, because they also want a choice. It's not that anyone else is bad, it's just they want more choices.
Right. And I understand your wife campaigned with you. Would you tell us about your family?
Oh, yeah. Well, my wife, Joanne, she's a teacher in Falls Church, and she would help me get signatures, and she helped me pass out brochures. My son, my oldest son, Jonathan, who you met, who delivered it, he's my director of logistics, and he helps me get to places like today, right here to the studio. He's helping me go to farmer markets and also to the metros to pass out leaflets and to meet people. He's done a tremendous job. My campaign manager, actually my middle son, Michael, he created the website. He got these printed, and he's certainly full of ideas for the campaign, but we have a limited budget, so there's limits to what we can do. My youngest son, he also helps out. He's my special advisor, and Joanne, my wife, is my super special advisor, of course.
So you have 3 sons?
3 sons. Jonathan just finished. He graduated from JMU, James Madison University. My middle son is in George Mason University, and my youngest son is in Marshall High School.
Oh, it's so wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
And what are they studying? Are they have aspirations?
Jonathan has interest in joining the military right now. He had taken many ROTC courses, and he thinks that's the way he's going to go. My middle son is interested in information systems and technology, which is, it's a growing field there. And my youngest son right now, his main thing is soccer.
I see.
He's a great player. He plays defense, and he's a really good player, if I say so myself.
I see. Okay. And Julio, so if you could talk to us just briefly about maybe the top 3 priorities that you have if you're elected for Congress?
Yes. Universal health care. And I know that's controversial, but I think we can do that. Right now, in administrative costs, and I'm not trying to demonize insurance companies or anything, but let's talk the facts. About $400 billion are wasted just in administrative costs. That means that those $400 billion are not really going to anyone's health because there is a profit motive in the system. There is, and not only that, the waste is also because the doctor doesn't just have to take care of you, he has to deal with all the paperwork of insurance company. That takes time, that takes labor, that takes money, and takes it away from concentrating on the health of the individual. So I would like to, I know Obamacare is a noble start, but it's not enough. And it touches me personally because my mom, and one of the reasons I'm running, she has Alzheimer's and she has Parkinson's. And basically, Medicare saved her, but it wasn't enough because she needed rehab, and the rehab has destroyed her financially. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anyone should be destitute to get in Medicaid. Our society, we are the greatest country, and our society needs to continue to evolve. And I think in regards to healthcare, we need to continue to evolve in that way. And by that, I say really eliminating the profit motive in the way we conduct our health system. The other thing besides we talked about the metro is the tax restructuring. I think particularly, and both for the individual and for business. And when I say business, I really say small businesses, because we got to remember, Apple was once a small business. The Gap was once a small business, and now they're everywhere. We need to make sure that the regulations we're imposing, and yes, for safety, there's almost no argument, but we got to make sure that regulations that we have for businesses and the tax system we apply to them is fair, that will allow them to prosper. Now, big companies will always find a way to get around. That's why I want to simplify tax system so you can say, there's no way around this. This tax code, which I forgot to say I went to law school too, the tax code is so dense that really even the IRS, people working at IRS have difficulty discerning what is the right answer to a question. So when you have a big corporation, they have attorneys, they have a branch just dedicated to that. The small businesswoman does not have that. The small business does not have it. So we think we need to look at that. But also the individual. When you pay your taxes, look at the nation we have. You should be happy to pay your share of taxes. But let's make sure it's your fair share. And one of the things I like to do is, because there's a minimum wage, there should be a minimal annual income where you are not taxed at all. And from that we can go contribute to your retirement, contribute to your health care, contribute to education before any cent goes to the government. In other words, you're going to take care of yourself and your family first, and then we take care of the family of Americans at large. And the last thing, which is not on here because this is not one thing I want to speak personal level, is we need to make sure that our national security is indeed safe and secure. Unfortunately, we do have enemies in the world, and this is what I try to illustrate about. Take a look at the map, take a look at the globe, and circle the places where you could have a similar life to the one you have here. There really isn't that many. And much of the world, whether we like it or not, and we don't like it, is a jungle. And life in the jungle is nasty, brutish, and short. And there are people who want to do us harm. And we need to be able to have, like, cyber warfare. That is a thing. And we need to have the right defenses. Also, we have to make sure that not only do we have the proper military systems, armaments, and all that, but also that our soldiers and our Marines, if we have to engage them in battle, that they have the right tools to protect themselves. And we have to make sure, we're not that young a nation anymore. We have to have the wisdom to decide, should we send people or should we not? Should we be engaged or should we not? We do have enemies, but you don't always have to use force. There are other ways. We have many tools. That's why I say we're the greatest nation. We have many tools that we can apply. And I want us to use that wisdom. There are many people who have been in battle. I have had experiences. I don't want to relate them here, but when we send our children to war, we must be careful. We must make sure that is the last option we have. Those are our children we're sending. And that goes back to one of my themes, which is I sometimes wonder if more of our elected officials in Congress had children in the military, they would have voted to invade Iraq. I have to wonder that if they had children
just served in the military.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you, and I thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's been very nice.
I think the political system really sucks right now, and just getting the person with the right chromosomes, with 2 X chromosomes, is not the solution. Hillary's agenda is not a woman's agenda. That's right. I mean, this is reality. Our fate is together. We are on this small boat, and that boat is not doing so well. Just putting a token woman into the White House is not going to do it, particularly when that token woman comes with the whole history of working for Walmart, whose agenda could be more harmful to the cause of women and children than Walmart, that forces their employees onto public assistance and food support. A candidate who's been behind closed doors with Goldman Sachs and receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars in speakers' fees, and who won't release the content of those speeches. The candidate who has yet to find a war that she didn't love, who led the charge on Libya, who supported the war in Iraq and only recanted on that, like a decade later or so. This is not what women need for the way forward, and it's not what society needs. We need a real public interest agenda with a public interest party. That's what my campaign is all about.
Look at what we consider to be the gold standard, which is HR 676. It is very explicit about the fact that we need to negotiate for the price of pharmaceuticals as well as medical service.
Well, the Canadian model, the provinces administer the healthcare plans, which are all publicly insured plans, including publicly owned hospitals.
Resident was, and they could decide that not everybody living in the state was a resident, and so people would be left out. Whereas under the HR 676, every person residing in the United States is in the system. And that makes the most sense from a public health standpoint. If you want to keep a population healthy, everybody needs to have access to health care.
I mean, I don't know if people understand how simple healthcare is in Canada, and I assume in Europe too. It's one card, you get it more or less when you're born. And you show up and that's it. You show your card. And
I mean, on the House side, the Conyers office has pushed the bill and has, I think right now we have, on the newest one, we have 60 co-sponsors already on that. We've had as many as well over 100 in previous. If we want to get a real single-payer plan, what we're looking for is leadership. Leadership at the presidential level would be wonderful.
You're watching Independent Green Party, Green TV.
And we focus on Independent Green Party and Green Party candidates for local, state, and federal office. And as such, here is my good friend, Natalie Lino-Stracuzzi of the Statehood Green Party. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. And
good to see you.
Appreciate you being here.
This is a man I've known a long time, since the 90s. A hard-working guy, a stalwart, Green Party leader who gets out there and is a working man. Natalie, first off, please introduce yourself to the audience. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
My name is Natalie Lino-Stracuzzi. I'm a first-generation Italian-American. I was born here in the Washington, D.C. area. I've lived my whole adult life here, other than the times I spent my summers in Europe as a child. So it's been a great experience growing up in the Washington, D.C. area. It really opens your mind to the different things that go on. It really is a great city based on the fact that our capital, our White House is here and such, and you really can be involved in a lot of the things that go on in the city and making change.
Where'd you go to school, Natalie?
I went to Beacon Heights Elementary School, then I went to Sligo Junior High and Montgomery Blair High School.
And one of the things that is always fascinating to me, of course, you speak Italian, and you have a group of folks who speak Italian in Washington, D.C., a community.
Yes, we have the Italian Church Holy Rosary, which just celebrated its centennial last year. So I'm proud to say that I'm 2 generations of Italian Americans that have attended this church and had their baptism, first communion, and confirmation there. So it's a great honor, and it is a great church in our city.
I had the pleasure, and as I mentioned, Natali's a close friend. I attended the baptism of his daughter. It was at St. Gonzaga's, wasn't it?
No, that was actually Holy Rosary. Holy Rosary, yes.
Holy Rosary. And I was there the day she was born at the hospital.
Yes, she was. Yes, you were, I mean.
And she's how old now?
Well, she just turned 17. She's got her learner's permit. She got her first job, and she's graduating, so I'm very proud of her. She's,
Nicoletta.
Nicoletta, yes.
Stracuzzi. A beautiful girl. What
Yes.
that little baby has grown into be such a beautiful young woman.
Well, she is my life, and I think that children give you a love that you cannot describe as the best feeling in the world, to be a parent.
And of course, I know your mother.
Yes.
Your mother, you often, you see her a lot, don't you?
Yes, pretty much. She's 85 years old. She's still doing well. But again, as they did for us, we have to do for them. So we have a little bit more things to do in life as they get older, but it's all worth it.
Now, brothers and sisters, you have quite a few, I think.
I have 2 brothers, Roberto and Giancarlo. One lives in York, PA. The other one lives in Minneapolis.
Politics, Natali, what's that look like from your perspective as a Green Party leader in Washington, D.C.?
I say that the party's grown, and we definitely have notoriety throughout the country, and we do have ballot access in I feel about 2/3 of the states, which is very powerful. And being that I mean, it really gives a candidate the opportunity to really run for president if they can really get their message out. I have to say Ms. Stein has been the most powerful candidate since what's it called, Nader. And I mean, she's made a big difference with her campaign organizing throughout the states and fundraising and just doing what she had to do to be the only woman to receive the amount of votes she has in the third party is an amazing fact.
Dr. Jill Stein, of course, received the most votes of any woman for president in the U.S. general election for president when she was the Green Party nominee in 2012. And we want to give a shout out to the other Green Party presidential candidates. 1996 was Ralph Nader was a Green Party nominee. Ralph Nader was a Green Party nominee again in 2000. Natali and I have known each other through all of this. 2004 it was David Cobb, along with Pat LaMarche, and I should have mentioned that Winona LaDuke, the great Native American Indian leader, was Ralph Nader's vice presidential nominee in 96 and 2000. 2008, Cynthia McKinney and Rosa Clemente were the Green Party candidate. Cynthia McKinney, the former Congresswoman, and then Dr. Stein in 2012. Now, Natali, many people are excited and are hoping that you will be a part of this important effort in 2016. Your plans, sir, will you be a congressional candidate for the D.C. Statehood Green Party in 2016?
Well, I'm proud to say that I'm here to announce my 2016 campaign. I'd like to offer you a campaign button and let you know that I will keep running. Until we remand the fact that we have to work till 70 for Social Security, I will keep running. It's based on the fact that the working class supports the world, not corporate America. And it's about us and not them. And I do feel that you have to look at it, that the fact that we should make the decision if we work till 70 or not our government. Because again, average people die around 78 to 81 and such. If you look at Chuck Brown, which was a go-go hero, would had adequate money in D.C., 75. Herman Hensley from the Jeffersons, 74. James Gandolfini, an Italian like myself, a little bit overweight like I am, he died at 51. These studies were taken and such, and saying by Stanford, stating that we live till 80. But the fact of the matter is they want us to die before they get the money. And I'm sorry, we collect about $1 trillion in Social Security and pay out about $900 billion. So again, money is there. What's happening to the money, we don't know. And that's where we need to change the system and figure out why it's not working for us, but it's working for corporate America.
Natalie Stracuzzi, thank you. Congratulations on the courage to run again, and thank you for coming to announce this on Independent Green Party, Green Party, Green Party, Green TV. Doctor, and we're going to now shift and look at a video from Dr. Jill Stein.
The biggest way people give up power is by not knowing that we have it to start with. Well, we've got it, and we're going to use it. And it doesn't come from the big corporate political parties that are bought and paid for by Wall Street. Their choices are not our choices.
Their candidates are not our candidates. Their economy is not our economy.
Their government is not our government. Their prisons are not our prisons. Their police are not our police. And their endless wars are not our wars. And their recovery for the few is not our recovery. The 1% is quaking in their boots because we're waking up to the fact that we have the power and we're going to use it. We have the power to make the minimum wage a living wage. We have the power to turn the tide on climate change. We have the power to create a welcoming path to citizenship. We have the power to end the racist war on drugs. It's in our hands. Together, we can build a world that puts people and the planet and peace over profit. That's in our hands. Our power to create this new world. It's not in our hopes. It's not in our dreams. It's in our hands. Thank you.
Now let's take a look at the Stein-Baraka campaign in Cincinnati.
Well, just raise your hand and just give you a big thank you. I want to thank you for making this incredible handoff possible, because when Bernie went and endorsed Hillary, it was as if he had a subliminal message. And that subliminal message was, I don't really mean it. And that seems to have been the effect of his endorsement, because it absolutely opened the floodgates. And our Facebook has completely blown up. So much so, in fact, that Facebook had to shut down inviting your friends because we're growing too fast, apparently. It just feels like, look out world, here we come, hold on to your hat. This is a completely unprecedented moment. We've kind of hit the breaking point in so many ways. The breaking point on student debt, the breaking point on the cost of health care, the breaking point on the lousy jobs that have come back. They tell us we're in a recovery, but we know better. This is really an emergency. It's no recovery. Anybody think it's a recovery out there? No, we got an emergency and we're going to fix it. And what was the first action of Barack Obama? A Democratic White House with 2 Democratic houses of Congress. The very first action was appointing none other but Larry Summers, the architect of the economic crash and catastrophe, to be Secretary of the Treasury. And then they went on and bailed out Wall Street to the tune of now 16 trillion, but who's counting? And what we say is, if we canceled the debt for the crooks on Wall Street who crashed the economy, how about we cancel the debt for the students who are the victims of that race fraud and
Tonight with a 2-minute opening statement from each candidate. Afterward, each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to each question, plus 2 minutes each for a rebuttal. They will also have 7 2-minute rebuttals each that they can use whenever they want, or on whatever question they prefer. At the end of the debate, both candidates will have a chance to make a 2-minute closing statement. It was determined before the debate that Governor Gary Johnson goes first. Governor Johnson, your opening statement.
Well, I think that this country is in big trouble, and the issues facing this trouble, the issues facing this nation are something that we can't bury our heads in the sand over. So for starters, let's not bomb Iran. Let's stop with our military interventions that have us with hundreds of millions of enemies to this country that, but for our military interventions, would otherwise not exist. So let's get out of Afghanistan tomorrow. Bring the troops home. I believe that marriage equality is a constitutionally guaranteed right, on par with civil rights of the 60s. Let's end the drug war. Let's legalize marijuana today. I would have never signed the National Defense Authorization Act allowing for arrest and detainment of you and I as U.S. citizens without being charged. I would repeal the Patriot Act. I think we need to balance the federal budget now. And that means addressing the entitlements, Medicaid, Medicare. That means addressing military spending. I think the biggest threat to our national security is the fact that we are borrowing and spending money to the tune of 43 cents out of every dollar that we're spending. When it comes to jobs, let's eliminate income tax, corporate tax, abolish the IRS, replace all of that with one federal consumption tax. I am advocating the fair tax, which I think is the answer to tens of millions of jobs being created in this country, because we are talking about a zero corporate tax rate environment. It ends up being cost neutral over a very short amount of time. It's really the answer when it comes to American exports, because we're going to bleed existing non-transparent taxes out of what we export. It's the answer to China. And then, given the opportunity, I would abolish the Federal Reserve if that were legislation that Congress would pass. It's an inside job that the Treasury prints money, gives it to the Federal Reserve gives it to the banks at 0%. Do the banks give it to you or I? No, they buy up treasuries in a closed loop, making profits off of you and I.
Well, thank you. And now, Dr. Jill Stein, your opening statement, please.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, and thank you so much to RT and Free and Equal. The American people certainly are at the breaking point. But in this election, we can turn that into a tipping point and start to take back our democracy and the peaceful, just, green future we deserve. We are in crisis now. The American people are losing our jobs, decent wages, our homes, affordable health care and higher education. Our civil liberties are under attack, and the climate is in an accelerated meltdown. The wealthy few are making out like bandits, doing better than ever, while everyday people are being thrown under the bus, and the political establishment is actually making it worse, imposing austerity on everyday people while they squander trillions on wars for oil, Wall Street bailouts, and tax breaks for the wealthy. That's why it's time to stand up and make your vote count and vote green in this election. Every vote for my campaign is a vote for the solutions that the American people are clamoring for right now. That means an emergency Green New Deal to create 25 million jobs, end unemployment, and jumpstart the green economy that spells an end to climate change and makes wars for oil obsolete. We're calling for health care as a human right through Medicare for All that covers everyone while it saves us trillions of dollars over the coming decade. And we're calling for bailing out the students, not the banks. We can end student debt and make public higher education free, as it should be, and it pays for itself. We know that from the GI Bill, where it returned $7 for every dollar we invested. We got $7 back in benefits to the economy. So we can end the failed racist war on drugs, downsize the military, end the drone wars, bring the troops home by standing up for this now. These are the solutions we deserve. They are within our reach. We just need to stand up and insist that we have them now by voting green in this election.
Thank you, Doc.
I'm Gail Farrell-Parker, candidate for U.S. House in Virginia's District 1. I'm a businesswoman, a retired Air Force veteran, and governmental budget analyst. I'm a mother of 3, a grandmother of 4. I ask for your vote for 3 reasons. I want to remove the barrier at the federal level that prevents the building of rail. The current policies say to municipal and state governments, if you build roads, the federal taxpayers will pay 80%. If you build rail, the federal taxpayers will pay 20%. The playing field should be leveled so that our municipal and state governments can solve transportation issues with mass transit. More trains, less traffic. I want to ensure we adhere to the Arms Export Control Act and to the U.S. Constitution so that we have someone to lobby on the sale of arms to foreign governments. The U.S. Constitution stipulates that the U.S. Congress is the approval authority for the sale of arms, not the State Department or the Department of Defense. Arms sales made without the approval of the U.S. Congress are illegal, and therefore we have no one to lobby if we disagree with the sales. And lastly, I ask for your vote because this election is about your tax dollars and our children and our grandchildren's future. The federal debt, now at $17.5 trillion, makes the interest payment on that debt this year the 6th largest expense in the federal budget.
Public at AOL.com. And check out the Independent Greens YouTube channel or contact the Independent Green Party on the Independent Green Party Facebook page.
That's this edition of Independent Green Party Green TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brooklyn Kinlay, Independent Green Party.
I'm Kerry Campbell, Independent Green Party. See you again next time on Green Party Green TV.